Hello everybody, my name's Katrina. I am in a different filming location today. I'm at Alex's place. Yes, I did bring all of the books I bought in August to Alex's just to film this video. Don't judge me. I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I got in August and actually a little bit of July. There's a few books that I actually forgot to bring home with me from work that I got in July. So when I filmed my July book haul, I missed those ones. The first book I'm going to be talking about is our September book of the month for the book club that I co-host called The Name of the Book. And if you haven't heard of it before, it's a book club. There's physical meetups in Brisbane and Sydney and also online live shows, so anyone can join. And the book we're going to be reading in September is City of Lies by Sam Hawke. This is a fantasy novel. It is by an Australian author, which I think is pretty cool. One of my lovely co-hosts works for Penguin Random House, so I did receive a copy from the publisher, which is awesome, so thank you very much. But honestly, we're all just so excited to read this book. It sounds so cool. So we follow two different characters, a brother and a sister. The brother, Jovan, his main purpose, his role is a food tester. So he's basically protecting the ruling family from poison and learning to concoct them and also withstand them, which I think is pretty cool. His sister, Kalina, is a little too frail to also take up this family duty. So instead of being like a food taster and learning all about poisons and stuff like that, it says her path is full of secrets and lies. And I think what is also really cool is a lot of women in this city that they live in hold positions of power. So yes, female power. Something happens though, and the Chancellor is killed by a very mysterious poison, so it falls onto this brother and sister to kind of pick up the pieces and figure out what happened. If you guys are interested in also reading this in September, join the book club. We'll talk about this book at the end of the month. Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. So I did get this one a little while ago, I got it back in July, but I completely forgot to show you guys. I've been really intrigued by Ken Follett's books for a little while now. One of my best friends, I can't remember if it's this series or one of his other series that I saw her reading and was like, is that any good? And she's like, I love it so much. So I saw this one. I think it's like a sweeping epic drama type thing that follows 5 families through the First World War and the Russian Revolution. I now have another copy of Godsgrave by J. Christoph. The UK paperback recently came out and I just love these. It's like not super different in terms of the cover, but they do change a few things here and there. And then it's just so pretty in like the end papers as well. I can't resist. I cannot resist. And if you guys don't know, Piera from Piera Ford and I are hosting a read-along in September for Nevernight and October for Godsgrave. And I'm actually going to annotate my books while I'm rereading them. And I think I'm going to use my UK paperbacks to do that. So look forward to some reading vlogs where I discuss rereading these books and things like that, and also a whole bunch of other content from Piera and I in the live shows. Also links down below to more information if you want to join in on the read along. If you guys don't know what Godsgrave is, it is a sequel to Nevernight, one of my favorite books of all time. I have a book review and links. More links, all the links down below. I also picked up Clean by Juno Dawson. First of all, how gloriously shiny is this cover? She's been touring around, going to a few festivals, writers' festivals in Australia and New Zealand, and she did have a Sydney book event, author event, for Clean. Honestly, that was one of the best author events I've been to. The facilitator, Amelia, had some fantastic questions to begin with, but honestly, I just loved hearing Juno talk. Really funny, but also touching on some really serious stuff, and I just loved her insight. Honestly, it was a fantastic talk. I wish I had recorded it because I would love to go back and listen to everything that she said. Clean follows Lexi Volkov, who is, I think, a hotel heiress, and she's also a heroin addict. The start of the novel kicks off kind of in the middle of an intervention, and she's being shipped off to a rehab facility. It's going to be tackling some pretty tough topics, for example, drug addiction, and I think some other things like mental illness and things like that. I think one of the side characters is also anorexic or has an eating disorder. So it's going to be a really interesting book, I think. Honestly, I'm just so intrigued. I've got a couple of books that I have already read, so let's talk about those. Fight Like a Girl by Clementine Ford. This is non-fiction. It's kind of like a feminist manifesto and it covers so many topics. If you want to hear my thoughts a little bit more, I'll link down below to my July wrap-up video that I recently posted. It will include like the timestamp that will take you directly to where I'm talking about Fight Like a Girl. I would highly recommend it. It's like kind of a mix between memoir and opinion pieces. It covers various topics like sex, sexuality and puberty, going through adolescence, blah blah blah, and also a bunch of the different struggles that women face living day-to-day life and living in the society that we do live in. And it gets pretty intense in some moments as well. Like, she doesn't shy away from really telling you the blunt truth, and I love it. So really would recommend this one. She's also coming out with a book called Boys Will Be Boys, I believe, and I'm going to be going to her event in Sydney for that. Gonna be a great time. Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. So I listened to this one on audiobook. It is a tiny book, and I listened to this for the booktubeathon, and I did really enjoy this one. I probably give it like a 4 stars, I'd say. This is a science fiction novella. We follow Binti of the Himba people, and she's the first of her people to travel to the intergalactic Umza University. Shit goes down along the way, and it was so fascinating, so fascinating. I really enjoyed listening to this, and I wish it was longer, which is why I picked up the next 2 books in this series. We have Binti, The Night Masquerade, and Binti Home. Wait, Home is the second one, and The Night Masquerade is the third one. The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness. This is just one of those books that I've heard enough people rave about it that I was like, okay, fine, my hands are tied, I'll buy the book. And honestly, I don't even know what to make of this one. The synopsis just sounds so interesting. So we follow Alex Craft, whose sister was murdered a few years ago. The killer walked free. So Alex decides to learn the language of violence. So she knows how to kill someone. And by the sounds of it, she does kill someone and isn't found to be guilty or anything like that. It says her crime goes unpunished. I've heard so many people rave about this. So many people rave about it, so I'm really excited to get to this one. I did the thing where you haven't even read the series and you just skip the whole series. Oops, a daisy. So this is the bind-up of the Southern Reach trilogy. The first book is Annihilation. It's by Jeff Vandermeer. I do own Annihilation, but I saw that there was a bind-up and it was like, that'll save me money, right? The first book, Annihilation, is about the 12th expedition into Area X, which is just this area that's been cut off from the rest of the world. And the previous expeditions, people have come back like diseased and things like that, and changed in not very pleasant ways. So I think this one is about the 12th expedition, where we follow 4 women who go into Area X. Eggshell Skull by Bree Lee. This is a memoir, and we follow Bree's journey through the Australian legal system. And more specifically, I think she does focus a lot of her energy on like sexual assault and how that's dealt with or not properly dealt with in Australia in the legal system, and how people kind of get away with it and things like that. Excited is not the right word. I really do want to read this one. I think it's going to be quite eye-opening to see kind of more of what's happening on the other end of it. Like, I've got no insight really into the legal system and how it all really works. It's not something I've paid too much attention to. Probably should learn a little bit more about it. I think it's going to probably make me quite angry. There's probably going to be some confronting things in here, but I'm sure it's going to be a fascinating read. Oh, okay, this is another one that I got in July. I mentioned it in my last book haul, but didn't have the book with me to show you. But I did get the US hardcover of Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I have since read this book and didn't love it. I gave it like a 2.5 stars. I did do a live show for this one because this was the August book of the month for my book club. If you want to know my thoughts, I'll leave the link to that live show in the description below. I will also be talking about that in an upcoming wrap-up video. Spinning Silver is loosely based on the fairy tale Rumpelstiltskin. So we follow a lot of characters. In my opinion, I think there's too many perspectives that we follow, but the main ones are Miriam, who is the daughter of a Jewish moneylender, and word gets out to like the king of the Starrock, which are fae creatures, that she's able to turn silver into gold. The Starrock are kind of obsessed and really desire gold, so he kind of brings her into his world to use her as a gold churning machine, I suppose. We also follow Irina, who is a duke's daughter, I think, and then her life becomes intertwined with the Tsar. Next up is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I think we follow a character who is on this ship that left Earth, and she's now the only survivor. I'm not sure if there are more people aside from her parents that were on this ship, but her parents passed away and now she's the only person living there, and Earth sends out another ship to kind of catch up to her, and these two ships are sending communications back and forth, getting closer and closer, and it sounds quite ominous. It's like she learns there's more to the mission than she could have imagined, and suddenly there are worse things than being alone. I've heard kind of mixed things about it. Some people really love it, some people are just like about it, so curious to see what I think of it. Persepolis Volumes 1 and 2 by Marjane Satrapi. So this is a graphic novel that I've also heard fantastic things about. I think it's an autobiographical graphic novel. Get it? Autobiographical? I believe it follows Marjane's life in Iran, pre, during and post the revolution, and also her life in Europe afterwards. From what I've heard, it's going to be pretty heart-wrenching, but also beautiful in the way it's told and the way it's drawn as well. The next lot of books that I'm going to be showing you are ones that I got at the book fair. Hooray, discounted prices! First of all, we have a $4 hardback, The Search for Wandler by Toni Ditolizzi. I never thought about picking this one up beforehand, to be honest, but it just honestly looks like such a beautiful book. Oh, all the illustrations, hello! Wait, what? Witness the wonders of Eva Nine's world as they unfold in spectacular 3D reality on your computer using Wandler Vision, augmented reality. Hold these special interactive illustrations up to your computer's webcam to watch and hear Eva Nine's journey come to life. That's so cool! Wild! We follow Eva Nine, who flees her life. So she's lived her first 12 years of life not interacting or seeing another human being. And that is until someone destroys her underground home. So she's kind of thrown out into the big wide world. She's desperate to find someone like her, and her clue, her only clue, is a crumbling picture of a girl, a robot, and a human with the word Wandler visible. I also picked up The Mothers by Brit Bennett. I've been meaning to pick this one up since Sydney Writers Festival last year, I think it was, when I saw an event with Brit Bennett. Just loved her events and was like, oh, I must get The Mothers. And then I proceeded not to go and do that. We follow Nadia, who at the start of the novel is a teenager, and I think we follow her and her friends into adulthood. I think it's about the repercussions of choices made in their youth and secrets and things like that. Not entirely sure what all the specifics are, obviously, but it says it's a book about community and ambition, love and friendship, and living up to expectation in contemporary Black America. So I've heard pretty good things. Very excited. Another book that I heard about from the Sydney Writers Festival this year is The Early King and the Kid in Yellow by Danny Denton. He was on a talk with Eliza Robertson and they were discussing mythology in novels. And if I remember correctly, it was Irish mythology that is threaded throughout this novel, and I'm not familiar with Irish mythology at all. I don't think I've read anything that does have it in it, or at least not knowingly. That's one of the main reasons I decided to pick this one up. The synopsis doesn't give you too much of an idea of what's going to happen in the story. There's the kid in yellow who steals the early king's child, and it says, why? Something to do with the king's daughter and a talking statue, something god-awful. Mysterious. I did write notes from the talk, so probably if I read over those I'd have a better idea of what kind of to expect from the story, but sounds really interesting. Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. This is one I've heard pretty fantastic things about, and it's the winner of so many awards. There's the Hugo, Arthur C. Clarke, Nebula, Locus, BSFA, all pointing towards a hopefully good book. And I think this is a space opera where artificial intelligence control human bodies, called ancillaries, which are soldiers. Something along those lines. I have a bookmark with it. Someone got this from Book Depository. I've heard so many rave reviews about this, so would love to hear your thoughts. Would you guys recommend I pick this one up soon? Considering it. The next lot of books are ones that some of my friends were unhauling, so I snagged them because yay, free books. First of all, we have Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. So I've read Assassin's Apprentice, and I do plan on continuing the series, and I think over my lifetime I would like to read all the Robin Hobb books, and so I was like, hey, why not just start collecting them, I suppose, if I have the opportunity to do so at a discounted / free price. In particular, I'm really excited for the Fool's trilogies. I think there's 2 trilogies following the Fool. Anyway, there's a few books that I think kind of more centers on the Fool, which was one of the most intriguing characters in Assassin's Apprentice to me, so this is one of the books I'm most excited about to get to from this whole saga. The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. We follow a character named Brianna, and I think in this world there are 5 passions which some people seem to have a bit of a talent for. So there's art, music, dramatics, wit, and knowledge, and Brianna is really struggling to find what her talent may be. So she chooses knowledge, and it says, and with it comes a very unusual skill. I want to know what that is. Please tell me more. I also picked up Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. This is one of those books that, you know, when you go into a bookstore, actually over time you go into bookstores and there are like certain books that you seem to be drawn to and just keep going back to, maybe picking it up or maybe just looking at the cover, maybe rereading the synopsis, seeing if you want to get it and you just don't get it. That's this book for me. I don't know why, I'm just kind of drawn to it, but I haven't actually done the deed and bought the book yet. So when my friend was getting rid of it, I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to get my hands on it, I suppose. And it's mainly because I really like the cover. It kind of reminds me of Red London from A Darker Shade of Magic. That's the main reason why I think I've been drawn to this one. And I don't even know what it's about. I'm not entirely sure what to make of the synopsis either. So I guess I'll find out what it's about when I read it. Lastly, I have some books sent to me by publishers and you're like, oh my god, what is that book at the bottom? I will show you because it's one of my most anticipated releases of 2018. This is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the gorgeous UK ARC with sprayed edges. It's so deluxe. I'm currently about 300 pages through this one. I'm slowly reading this with my friend Buddy reading it, but I'm like reading it to her because she doesn't have a copy. I'm also hosting a read-along for Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares in September and October. Yes, just like Nevernight and Godsgrave. Link down below to that video with more information. I'm going to be doing a massive live show at the end of it with a bunch of awesome people and it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you would like to reread Strange the Dreamer in anticipation for Muse of Nightmares, or you haven't started the series yet and you're interested, join the read-along. It's going to be a lot of fun. Giveaways, bonanza, fun video content. Huzzah! If you haven't read the books and you want to know what it's about, Strange the Dreamer, the first book in this duology, follows Laszlo Strange. He is a librarian and he's off with the fairies most of the time. He's off in his own world. He's a bit of a dreamer, hence being called Strange the Dreamer. And he has a fascination with this city called Weep. When he was younger, he distinctly remembers the moment where the name of Weep disappeared as if by magic. Ever since then, he's been so much more fascinated by it and wants to learn more about this mystical city that's kind of disappeared. And that's what happens at the start of the novel. I'm not going to talk about anything else that happens because you need to read it to find out, and it's beautiful, glorious, and writing is amazing. One of my favorite books of all time, so I'm really excited to be rereading. I'll finish reading Muse of Nightmares and then I'll start the series again during the read-along. Good time indeed. I'm really excited. You should have seen me opening the packages when I was receiving the ARCs for this because I've also got the US ARC. I went ballistic. This next one is one I got from work. I work for Bloomsbury Publishing Australia, and we recently got in ARCs for The Flower Girls by Alice Clark Platts. This is a bit of a thriller. Back when Laurel and Primrose were children, I think they were playing in the park or something with another little girl, and that little girl died. The older sister was convicted of murder, locked away, and the younger sister, she's given a new identity and now goes by the name of Hazel. Fast forward 19 years, on Hazel's birthday, another young girl goes missing. It's kind of linked to the Flower Girls because the way in which this young girl goes missing is very similar to what happened 19 years ago. Sounds so epic. Have been hearing really good things about this one. So very keen. I received a copy of The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee from the lovely HarperCollins. Thank you so much! This is like the companion sequel to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I read last year. Really enjoyed. The audiobook was so great, such a fun story. Not at all what I was expecting. Magnificent. So the main character in Gentleman's Guide, he has a sister who he goes traveling through Europe with. That sister is the main character in Lady's Guide. I'm very excited. I love the synopsis on the back. It's kind of a letter to the reader from Felicity, and it starts with, "Well done, you've managed to slog through my brother Monty's lengthy account of his travels." Basically, she is a very independent woman and she wants to study medicine, but historically, women really aren't given the opportunity to do that, so I think she studies in secret. She is a very determined young lady, so another really highly anticipated book, so cannot wait. The most anticipated book of the decade? I think so. It's been a little while since I've talked about this book on my channel. It's definitely time for a reread, but it is one of my favorite books of all time. And that book is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. And you may have heard that Markus Zusak is coming out with another book called Bridge of Clay. So this is the proof of Bridge of Clay. Thank you so much, Pan Macmillan, for sending this my way. Don't know what to do. I'm scared to read this one because I have such high expectations from The Book Thief. So I need to go into this book just not making any connections to my love for Markus Zusak's other book. We follow the Dunbar boys. So these are all brothers and they're kind of each bringing themselves up in their home. I think it's mother passed away. Their father has fled, so they're all kind of struggling to get through, but together. One of the things I'm really looking forward to about this book is it's about a family who's being held together by stories. And in particular, I think we focus on Clay Dunbar, who builds a bridge. I don't know how literal all of this is, so I guess I'll find out when I read it. I also have We Three Heroes by Lynette Noni. This is a series of novellas. It's short stories from DC, Jordan, and Bear's perspectives. They are the three best friends of Alex Jennings, who is the main character in the Madoran Chronicles. The first book is Akane. So this one I would certainly recommend you read after finishing Grey Veil by Lynette Noni. In terms of the chronology, that's definitely the way that you need to read it because events in this will spoil events that happen in Grey Veil. But in addition to kind of covering some of the events that happen throughout the series up to Grey Veil from different perspectives, we also get to see an insight into these different characters and their histories, which I thought was really interesting. So I have already read this book. I read it a few months ago, but I was beta reading it and I wasn't sure how much the manuscript was going to change from then until publication, so I didn't mention it on my channel because it wasn't quite a finished copy. But I do think that the version that I read is very similar, if not pretty much the same as this. It was so lovely. Also the covers, sorry about the glare, the covers are just so beautiful. I'm so happy that we got to get a little more insight into these three characters who are best friends, who are the three best friends that anyone could ever have. I love them dearly. I think the friendships is one of the strongest aspects of this series, so it was awesome to see their stories a little more intimately. Pantera kindly sent me a copy of this book. Thank you very much. So all of those books I requested except for this one, like the physical copy was sent unsolicited, but I'd already read it. But I did receive one unsolicited book this month, and that is Salvation by Peter F. Hamilton. So thank you very much, Pan Macmillan, for sending this my way. So I think there's an alien shipwreck that's discovered by humans. A team is sent out to investigate. The cargo on said ship is a little bit ominous though, and I think it says it foreshadows humanity's extinction. So it must be some hectic, dangerous cargo. That being said, back on Earth, technology has done magnificent things. It says we can make deserts bloom and extend lifespans indefinitely, so humanity seems invulnerable. Sounds really interesting. Haven't heard anything about this one, so if any of you guys have read it, is it out yet? I should know this. 11th of September, so it is not out at this stage, at least not in Australia, but if any of you guys do end up reading this, I would be really curious to hear your thoughts on it. So those are all of the books I purchased / received in the month of August. Very excited about so many of these books. Don't forget to take a look in the description below for some of the reviews I've posted for the books I've already read, and also the read-along information for the Nevernight Chronicle and the Strange the Dreamer duology. That's happening September, October, so join in, it'll be a grand time. But I think that's all that I have for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'll see you very soon in a new one, but until then, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye!